Namaskar and a very warm welcome to today's program, Elets Power Utilities Conclave 2022, brought to you by Elets Technomedia in industry partnership with SAS India, SAS India. Today's program is a joint initiative by Elets Technomedia and SAS India to discuss and deliberate upon the challenges and opportunities which are shaping up in India's power sector, including the power utility sector. The power utility sector in the country of late has been undergoing a massive transformation, and much of this transformation is being led by technology. The advent of emerging technologies in the past 2 decades, plus a long history of power pilferages, loss of power, and accumulated transmission and commercial losses, the issues which have been plaguing the Indian power sector. How can we transform the sector? How can we leverage technology to overcome the problems and challenges facing this sector? We will be discussing through the course of the next 90 minutes today this knowledge sharing program brought to you by Elets Technomedia, India's largest B2B media organization. Founded in the year 2003, Elets Technomedia has been at the forefront of creating knowledge, disseminating conferences, webinars, and also knowledge publications in the sector of health, governance, education, and banking. The common thread which binds these four sectors or these four magazines is the promotion and usage of ICT based innovation, how ICT based innovations and how ICT based technologies are transforming these four sectors. This has been the key theme of all the four magazines being published by Elets Technomedia and our various knowledge conferences which are being held throughout the length and breadth of the country, including overseas also, most often in partnership with Government of India, state governments, and also select international agencies. The key focus is to bring to the fore the key issues, the emerging issues which are which are prevalent in the society today, and how to overcome those challenges. In today's program, we will be joined by various speakers from the power utility sectors from the length and the breadth of the country. We'll be having, to start with, there would be two keynote addresses by two very eminent experts and senior policymakers in the power sector. They would be Mr. T.L. Satyaprakash, an IAS officer, Secretary Power Department, and also Managing Director, Haryana Vidyut Prasaran Nigam Limited in Government of Haryana. His keynote would be followed by another keynote by another expert from the power sector, Mr. Baldev Singh Saran, CMD of Punjab State Power Corporation Limited. These two keynotes will then subsequently be followed up by a very power-packed panel discussion. The theme of this panel discussion would be Artificial Intelligence and Machine Learning in the Power Sector, a promising future. We'll discuss and we'll elaborate, we'll deliberate how AI and ML based innovations can really bring a massive transformation of the entire power sector, and what are the steps being taken by Government of India as well as the various state governments to bring down the cumulative AT and C losses from current 52% to a level of around 10 to 12% as envisioned in the new power policy. So with this, I once again welcome all the eminent panelists here, keynote addressees, experts, dignitaries, and also the delegates who have joined us from all over the country, primarily from the power department. We hope that this next 90 minutes will bring you to some cutting edge innovations, which is really in the cusp of transforming the entire power sector. So, with this, I invite here the first keynote addressee of the day, Mr. T. L. Satyaprakash, Secretary, Department of Power, and Managing Director of Haryana Vidyut Prasaran Nigam Limited. Over to you, Mr. T. L. Satyaprakash.
Hello, sir. Good evening.
Good evening, Priyaji.
Very good evening.
I have with me Director of Finance of Haryana Vidyut Prasaran Nigam, Mr. Tiwari. Mr.
Hello, sir.
Tiwari is with us since 32 years. And also I have Shri Sunil Sharma.
Hello, sir.
He deals with regulatory affairs. I requested both of them because they are part of our core team. Okay.
Yes, sir. I understand.
So instead of one person speaking, they will also add to what exactly we are doing as HVPN. Certain issues Sunilji will tell, and on finance-related issues, Mr. Tiwari will throw light. So let me tell, I will take 5 to 6 minutes as to what all are going on in HVPN, Haryana Vidyut Prasaran Nigam, with the state transmission utility.
Right, sir. Sir, our moderator for the session is Mr. Bhavuk Agarwal, who has joined us from SAS, India. And he is based out of Delhi, and he has joined us. So I request Mr. Agarwal.
Yes, absolutely, sir. Thank you so much for joining. And I would be having some questions after your initial word. So let's proceed, sir. We would be very eager to listen from you as to what is the overall plan that you are having in mind, and how we can contribute to that plan. Being the premium analytics provider in the world. Yeah.
We were one of the pioneering states as far as many innovations are concerned, thanks to Mr. P.K. Das. He was at the forefront. He was there in almost all the utilities like DISCOM, generation, Haryana Electricity Regulatory Commission, etc. And we were the first to start GIS substations. We started in as early as in 2006 in Gurugram. This started reducing the pressure. At the same time, as late as 2020, early 2020, we analyzed a particular route and then found that this can be compressed, and we utilized the geographic information system and reduced it by 37%. 37% reduction in land is an amazing efficiency. And it was Mr. Das who introduced mobile substations and movement from single circuit to double circuit, and which a lot of people call it as redundancy in corridor, and multi-circuit, multi-voltage systems. All these were his contributions. And probably we are one of the very few utilities who ask for the type testing, which actually standardizes the voltage losses. There is an opinion that we need not have type testing, but there's another conservative thought process which goes that no, we must have type testing, whether others have it or not, we should have type testing, because there's only one way of standardizing transformers. So, and of late, we are also going towards monopoles because that will reduce the pressure in terms of right of way. And our latest is drones. We started using drones for surveillance of our lines, where what we can't see by our eyes, even multi-chromatic cameras, drones can see that. So we have been hugely successful in assessing where very high number of trippings are there. This is one part of it as to what are the innovations we are working on. Probably one of the most important thing that we are doing, we conduct knowledge series, so we understand what are the new things going on. And second is, we believe in creating all-rounders. An engineer must also understand what are IT systems. He should also know what is contract and how the arbitration goes. He must also know what are important components of finance and how can I reduce the cost by approaching an innovation way of financing, etc. So a finance person should know about operation, and operation person should know about finance, and vice versa. And we should create a bunch of all-rounders, buzzing bees, so that a person can be versatilely utilized. This is one. Second part is we are focusing on maintenance. We should know upfront the residual years left of lifespan of a transformer or any other. Of course, we are partially successful, and we have of late we found that since long they have been marketing this Mega is a company which produces testing vans, and entire testing equipment can be whole lot of testing equipment we put in one utility vehicle, and that will provide a sense of comfort to our engineers, and quickly we can assess the health of the transformers and other systems in a substation. And as you understand, there are only two things which define finally the efficiency. One is transmission system availability. We have crossed this year, probably we'll be approaching 99.5 above, and 0.3 we consider it as a minimum. So there is another 0.02% possibility of, that is the 100% efficiency we are approaching to. The second is interstate losses. We are approaching 1.5. Last year we were almost like 2.15. From there we have come down to 1.5 this year, and this is one set of innovation. Of course, it's not that everything is hunky-dory here. We have our own challenges, like very high personnel cost, and Sunilji will be telling about how we are thinking of reducing the personnel cost, and also on finance we will be slightly pushed and pressed, which Mr. Tiwari is trying to find out what are the innovative ways of financing. So I will request now that the one part is TSA. We have started analyzing shutdowns and breakdowns. What percentage of my last TSA is part of the shutdown, and what is the component of breakdown? The idea is that in peacetime, if you can have more shutdowns and less breakdowns, so over a period of time, shutdown will also reduce, breakdown will also reduce. So that is the idea. So our officers have very innovatively designed the analytics process of how to analyze the shutdowns and breakdowns, on what component, how much of the shutdown has been taken, and which of the towers are taking higher shutdowns. And is it possible to have the live maintenance? So the couple of firms we have already approached. It's not that these are all very new, but is it possible to take it as a basket of innovations and together? And is it possible to have, there are 100 different processes with which you are going to have very small marginal gains. Put together, it will become very, very big. The idea is to leverage on small marginal gains in an array of processes, and then cumulatively that will give us a very wonderful yield, which is very constant. So I will request Mr. Tiwari to speak about the finance-related issues and how we are working on. And after that, I will request Mr. Sunil Sharma to speak about some automation-related issues, and what are the plans of HVP and on that. Thank you.
Sure, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. So basically, in the start, you mentioned that you will be raising some questions after the welcome address by Managing Director. So would you like to proceed now raising the questions, or should I tell how we are managing the finances of the company?
And then you can speak
after you, sir. After you.
Other things, and then we can.
So we complete our addresses, then we can go for the discussions, right?
Absolutely, sir.
My Kpex requirement is around 1,000 crore to 1,200 crore. Due to COVID, we were not able to fulfill that because of the obvious reasons that the contractors were not getting the supplies and the labors because of those reasons. But on an average, it is around 1,000 crore. And we are basically a regulated entity, and we have to file the tariff application under the multi-year tariff regime. So we make fair projections of the Kpex for the next 5 years, which is validated every year. So now comes the funding of the Kpex. My OPEX is around 1,600 crore, and my Kpex is around 1,000 crore. So how we fund our Kpex and OPEX, briefly I will tell you upon that. So far as the Kpex is concerned, we, as per the regulatory requirement, it can be in the 70:30 ratio, 70 debt and 30 equity. Now, equity portion can come from two sources. One is the internal resources generated by the company, and second, outside help from the state government. State government normally provides 20% of the Kpex requirement, which we use as margin money for getting the fund from the market. Now, so far as the 70% part is concerned, or rather say 80% part we take the loan is concerned, there are domestic financial institutions, mostly PFC and REC. We were also taking the loan from the NABARD Industrial Development Authority. They also provide loan on commercial terms and conditions and interest rate. But in the past, we have also approached, firstly, in 2006, we approached JICA, and we basically funded around 1,500 crores of project from the JICA funding. Then subsequently in 2009, we approached World Bank, and we got a loan of USD $330 million. That was around 1,600 crore. So because of this mix of funding, my average cost is less than 6%. Because in case of World Bank, it is less than 1%. Of course, in case of World Bank, we have the foreign exchange rate variation. There is a risk there, and whenever the currency fluctuates, we have to pay additional to the World Bank.
Correct.
But we have made an analysis, and we have found that even if I account for the exchange rate variation, which I have paid to the World Bank because of the foreign currency loan, still, in case of World Bank also, my annual cost is around 4.5%, which is as compared to the domestic financial institution, which is around 9%. PFC, REC, they are charging around 9%. So this is the funding capital requirement, which we basically get easily. And the procedure is like this. Whenever the projects are approved by the Regulatory Commission, we approach to the domestic financial institutions for the funding. And earlier, they were doing all type of analysis on the project. They were calculating the IRR, they were calculating the net present value, they were calculating the payback period. But once we became the regulated entity, they see only one thing, whether it has been approved by the regulator or not. Because once it has been approved by the regulator, then the return of money is guaranteed. Because I will get a return on equity, I will get interest, I will get depreciation to serve the debt. So nowadays, their job has become very easy. In case of power project, they only see that it has been approved by the regulator or not. So soon we get the approval from the regulator, we post the schemes to the funding agencies, and we get it tied up. Subsequently, the award price can be different. We get those prices updated from the regulator and from the funding agencies also. So far as the funding of OPEX is concerned, basically because we are getting tariff, and it is absolute tariff. It is not dependent upon the quantum of power. The transmission is a basically fixed cost. So if I get 1,600 crore rupees in tariff, divided by 12, monthly I will get that money. So I mostly basically use this tariff, which we get from the distribution company mostly, to fund the OPEX. Now, for the working capital requirement, we have tied up with the commercial bank, and at present, we are getting the working capital loan at 6.5%, which is less than the MCLR of the banks. So we have made an arrangement with them, and what we call it, against the CC limit, we have taken the working capital loans. So under the working capital loan head, we are able to get it at 6.5%. Going forward, when we will be basically going for the TBCB, tariff-based competitive bidding, it has been introduced by the Haryana regulator also, and most probably in this year, they will be specifying some of the projects under the TBCB. So for the TBCB, we have made a plan for going for the InvIT. We will go through InvIT route, and as the Power Grid has already done, we will be also basically funding our projects under the InvIT. So this is all about the finances we are having. Apart from these finances, we are also managing two trusts. One is the pension trust and second is the PF trust. The corpus size of both the trust is around 8,000 crore. And we are managing this fund for the last 20 years as per the Government of India Ministry of Finance guideline. So this is a small brief on our finances, how we manage them. Over to Mr. Sunil.
Sir, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Sir, we have total of 431 substations in HVPNL, out of which we have a SAS substation and RTU-based communication system for around 250 substations. We are getting the data to SLDC on regular basis from these substations. Now we are planning for data analytics of these substations, which are having SAS and RTUs, on through which we can have all the data on a dashboard to all the concerned. And further, we have OPGW on all the 220 kV links, on 220 kV transmission lines, from which we are getting the data, and we are proposing for 66 and 132 kV in the near future, which will be completed in 3-year times. Further, sir, one more project of SMUS, scheduling, accounting, metering, and settlement of transaction, where we have to install all the interface meters, around 2,700 in total.
What basically is telling is we have 428 substations. The most important thing is to collect information from all the 428 substations and various components, even lightning arrestor, transformers, and for everywhere we have remote RTUs we have from all those RTUs to work. So the challenge is when we have the substation automation systems of various companies, and all these instruments, equipments are of different vintages, how to collect information, how to make this automation work. Probably we are almost 6 to 7 years delayed, and with whatever we had since 1998 till now, and then we have to make all of them work. And so collecting information about every small part and taking it onto the dashboard and analyzing it. And what is, at the end of the day, what is artificial intelligence? I need to get information about every component on real-time basis. Okay, that is what is IoT or artificial intelligence is all about that. So probably OPGW, optical fiber ground wire, that will provide an opportunity for us. That is what Sunil is telling, right?
Yes.
And further, you can also speak up.
Further, we have a SMUS scheme where
the Government of India scheme, but
yeah,
we are also
50% funded by the Government of India and 50% through our funds. Where 2,700 meters shall be installed at the interface meter between DISCOM and the STU. And so we have floated the tenders and likely to be completed in 15 months times, where all the counting of this intrastate ABT and open access shall be done.
So these are broadly what is happening in Haryana Vidyut Prasaran Nigam. We try to do the routine work here and there interspersed with innovation. Innovation cannot be the fulcrum of the entire thing. Innovation is an ongoing thing where we will be doing business as usual, and in order to get all marginal gains from each of the individual transaction, we explore what sort of efficiency we can gain, and explore a possibility of how this a series of marginal gains can convert into a larger conspicuous gain. That's it. Thank you.
So, sir, while we have had a couple of discussions in the past also, whereby our team has also seen, the state of current affairs, with your body within the state, which is fairly good already. My question was that since you spoke about artificial intelligence, if you could give some views on how you feel that AI and machine learning and analytics can be can be further leveraged to improve the business operations of SLDC and transmissions also?
So one such area which I will like to point out here is that as we are using the drones, right now those drones are carrying high definition camera. They are basically taking the pictures of the line, and presently what we are doing, the anomalies in the towers are basically viewed by human eye. Going forward, we can develop a machine learning, we can develop artificial intelligence, whereby the standard design of the tower will be there in the system, and on the basis of the picture taken by the drone, a comparison will be run, and that comparison through artificial intelligence and machine learning will point out the anomalies which has been captured in the picture. And based on that, there can be a software which will give you the exact locations of the tower and the type of repair work required there. So this can be a huge area which will require data transmission, data storage, data analysis, and through artificial intelligence, we will be able to do the O&M work, repair and maintenance work fast. This can be one area of the artificial intelligence.
Absolutely. Sir, in terms of this is more to do with the image analytics and how we are processing the images which are getting captured through drone technology. We are also collecting a lot of data through various systems, and by using that data and analyzing that data over a period of time and making the system self-learn as to how to do operational improvements over a period of time. If you can give me some thoughts as to how you feel.
I will tell you, we all told about how beautiful we are doing, how good we are doing, and we are a wonderful organization. We have come to interstate losses of 45%. We are approaching the highest transmission system availability. There are also issues like the tower fell and somehow we could not get it done for almost 6 months. And the huge transmission system availability loss, this was one that happened in Gurgaon. And almost 1,200 hours of total loss. And similarly, our Bawal 132 substation transformer just exploded, and for 12 hours we did not have power in a very important installation. I'm telling this because let us appreciate what we could not do, okay? So to that extent, it is important that we should leverage artificial intelligence. Probably, had I put my IoT or artificial intelligence system, it would have indicated me, look, here is a transformer which is at danger. And I will tell you another thing. It is not just about the data analytics or information or artificial intelligence. At least 12 days prior, I got a record that, look, here is a transformer which is in danger. We did not work for 12 hours, and then it went off. And probably, I also have a very dubious distinction of having lost maximum transformers in a year. And the reason was they all came together, the stage of surveying off. But the moment it went up, the shifting took a lot of time, and there is a loss of transmission system availability. And while I'm telling what all we did and why we should be appreciated, I am also accepting the challenges before us and failures before us. Unless you appreciate the failures, probably you will not go ahead, and you know that you are 90 kilograms and you are always telling that, no, I'm 60 kilograms, you are not going anywhere. So probably the culture of appreciating failure is the one we are learning over a period of time. And probably automation is the one which will provide us another level of financial efficiency, because our personnel cost is very heavy, and we pay for watch and ward and maintenance staff for 3 shifts. And probably when we go for automation, then we will be able to reduce this the entire personnel to only a minimal staff with watch and ward. Okay. So this is where there is, probability, potential of next level of efficiency for Haryana Vidyut Prasaran Nigam.
Yeah. Yet another area can be, we nowadays talk a lot about the smart grid. So basically the artificial intelligence can be brought to basically have the smart grid operations. So now when we talk of the smart grid, basically the grid is a dynamic phenomena. The load patterns and the voltage keeps on changing depending upon the growth in that particular area and depending upon the injection points and the consumption patterns. Now, one such important element is the voltage profile. Voltage profiles is also a very dynamic and local phenomena, as we understand. So what happens in a particular pocket, there can be no voltage drop phenomena, but over a period of time, if you don't do the augmentation and the load growth is there, so there will be a voltage drop phenomena. So now by use of the artificial intelligence, you can have the eye on the areas where there is a witness of voltage drop. Now the voltage drop can be any specific year of month of the year, or it can be during the peak hour or in the off-peak hours. So basically, in order to keep eye on the voltage, because if you have to give the quality power, it is not a 24/7 power, it should be the quality power also. Then you have to manage the voltage profile as well. So if you have the data, that data can be analyzed for voltage management also if we have the appropriate type of artificial intelligence. Similarly, for the grid management, sometimes we have to set the load, sometimes we have to ask the generator to shut down, box up, in order to save the grid. If we have the right kind of data, and if we can use the artificial intelligence, now actually what is happening, whenever there is a call from the NRLDC that, okay, Haryana, you are overdrawing 200 megawatt, so you set down the 200 megawatt. So right now, my SLDC is basically, for the sake of convenience, is cutting those lines only where they can get the setting of 200 megawatt in one go. But that should not be the case. Actually, there should be a merit order. And if we have the artificial intelligence, we can do the job by rotation so that every time there is a call for set of the load, then a single area should not suffer. So if we use the artificial intelligence in this field also, then you can go for the merit order and you can set the load according to the different areas depending upon that particular artificial intelligence software.
Probably the characteristic feature of HVP that probably if you assess across the country, we have the highest degree of reliability. We have N-1, always we have an extra line to support all our transformers, which we have consciously done, particularly after that bowel, episode. And I don't think that any other utility will have this much of reliability by providing almost every transformer level, substation level, the N-1, the source. So this is one great thing. And yet we see more of failures, because the best thing about putting failures on paper is that we have bottomed out and best is yet to come. What's still over, best is yet to come. Correct. So once you put everything that, okay, this is my NPA, and then you have provision for losses, and best is only best is to come. There is worst is over. So there is one.
I agree.
It's a perspective. It's a cultural thing in an organization.
Correct, sir. Talking about we hear a lot about smart meters and automated metering infrastructure. So how do you feel that smart meters and AMI can prove to be a game changer for SLDC and transmission companies, especially improving areas like forecasting and scheduling operations? If you can possibly shed some light.
I will make a small comment and then I will request Sunil to speak on that, because he's an engineer and a technical person, so he can tell more on that. You see, when you have discoms, generators, generators in public sector, generators in central government, public sector, but CPSUs and independent power producers. And when you bring solar into the picture, so a lot of rooftop solar producers will get into the picture. And so it is very important for an organization, the state transmission utility, to understand, analyze, and analyze from where my power is coming and from to where my power is going, and what are the losses, and is it possible to categorize losses as per the source, as per the utilities, and as per the function, transmission, generation, and distribution. So this will provide a very unique picture. And if you take the aviation sector, take 1970s, they used to have a lot of accidents. Now they have come down to almost 1 per million. That is the operations. That is the size of the sophistication they have achieved. Okay.
Correct.
So probably more data, more analysis will give us cues for further improvement. And at times we get we develop a lot of blind spots as to what's happening. We don't want to see it agriculture lines, or we don't want to see it solar. It's once again the cultural thing that we tend to forget certain things, and we tend to put certain things on back burner. But these meters, interface meters, etc., will provide us very, very crucial cues on what I need to do further. So, Sunil, would you like to further?
So smart metering AMIs is basically for the distribution sector. It is for increasing the collection efficiency, billing efficiency, and metering efficiency, sir.
Correct.
It has no role with the SLDC, sir. But SLDC, but in SLDC, this data acquisition, data acquisition is used for forecasting of the load, sir. So as to minimize the this
Power outage and all.
settlement mechanism to minimize that error of draw and scheduling, sir.
Correct.
This
Correct.
becomes very important when it comes to the peak, particularly come July, August, September. Suddenly my peak will go to, it's possibly this year will go to 13,000 megawatts, which is historic high. Suddenly all these things will come into picture. And some of the particular load centers will peak out, and we may have system inefficiencies, deficiencies, all that. In order to foresee all that, probably you can, if you have an appropriate data analytics system with all these meters and all, it will enable us to foresee what's going to happen next year. So that if I can foresee what's going to happen, accordingly, I can take certain measures of boxing out certain units, or to spruce up certain units, or to tell some other generator, look, take gas linkage so that you can help us, and we can provide that source internally, that the internal generation will help me to manage, balance out the ATC, TTC, etc. All these things can be managed using an appropriate analytics.
Sir, at SAS, I mean, we are already working with multiple utility organizations, whereby, as you rightly mentioned, I mean, we are collecting the data from these smart meters and AMI systems. But how do we make sure that eventually the services that we are providing, we should be able to eventually provide uninterrupted service? And our systems obviously can definitely help to make sure that we are analyzing the previously collected data out of these systems. We are analyzing how much was the consumption, which was done, how much did we serve to the respective discoms and all, and what can be the possible demand in the coming future. As you rightly mentioned, there are some really peak seasons also, so we need to make sure that we are providing uninterrupted supply. So how do we make sure that we have enough capacity onboarded, so that those features can be met out? Sir, another question I had was, what what is your way forward for, 2022? I mean, any noteworthy schemes which are upcoming in the year 2022, not only to basically improve power transmission and distribution, but the overall state of how you are managing power infrastructure in the sector of Haryana.
So basically, as I told you, that we have already submitted a Kpex plan to the regulator, and we will be getting the tariff order by the end of the March. So primarily around 50% of the Kpex will be for the old schemes, which we were not able to complete in the earlier years. And 50% will be the new schemes. As has been told by MD sir, what we have done, that we have done one analysis to find out the transmission gaps which are there in our transmission network. Now those gaps can be in the form of less reliability. To take an example, there is one substation and there is only one transformer serving to that area. If something happened to that transformer, then the lead time can be 6 hours to 6 days. In order to address that issue, what we have planned is that we have identified certain substations where only single transformer is serving. So we have made a plan in 2022 that we will be having the redundancy. We will be going for the second transformer there. Apart from that, we have done the system studies and we have found that during the peak hours, certain areas of the grid are under stress. So in order to de-stress them, we have planned for the alternate routes. So if a substation which is on radial mode, we have gone for the another line, so that in case of any exigency, that area can be served by the other lines also. 90% of the substations are already having double connectivity. There are certain substations which are at the border of the state where the consumption is less. Still, we have a plan in 2022 that we will be connecting those remote areas also with the second line. And similarly, on the basis of the system studies, we have found that during some of the winter season, because of the fog, there are trippings of the lines. And in order to improve those areas, although we have in the NCR area gone for the polymer insulator only, still we have a O&M plan that phenomena should not happen, which can have a cascading effect on the tripping of the lines. So basically in 2022, we are also focusing on the repair and maintenance practices. So we are buying 2 mega van, which was mentioned by the MD sir.
Testing vans.
Testing van. So basically those are mounted with all the testing equipment, which will be basically going from one substation to other substations. So that will help us in preventive maintenance. So these are the major areas. And apart from that, we are going for HTLS, wherever the line constraints are there, the current capacities, in order to increase the current capacities. So these are the major areas which we are focusing in 2022.
Sir, further, sir, we are going for leasing of the OPGW, sir, already connected to 220 kV lines for asset monetization of assets, sir.
We have a huge connectivity capacity.
Of 2,700 kilometers, sir.
So we can monetize it. Adding to these two, I will tell that we have 3 things in mind in 2022. Number 1 is automation, number 2 is automation, number 3 is automation. It's automation, automation, automation. That's it.
Sir, we would seek another opportunity to come over and have a little more detailed discussion on how we can, work together. SAS being, one of the leaders in analytics, we are working globally with so many utility organizations. And
you will get an opportunity in next 2 days. Please see our website, and there is an opportunity.
Sure, absolutely.
We are putting a tender, and that will happen very quickly. Okay.
Right, sir. Sir, one last thing. Tiwari sir mentioned about the loans which you generally take to cater to the operations. Sir, we have been in discussions with some of the other organizations also across India, because as an organization we are very strong in financial risk management as well. we learned from them that a couple of those transmission organizations are taking loans from World Bank and KfW and basically international loans. Let me put it that way. And as you rightly mentioned, they seem to be pretty worried about the exchange rate fluctuation, because all these loans are pretty long-term loans. Some of them like 15, 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, depending upon what kind of loan and what is the amount of loan which they are taking.
Yeah.
One of the discussions that I was having with them was, around the exchange rate fluctuation, whereby they seem to be offering the loan at a pretty low interest rate in the beginning, but over a period of time, because of the exchange rate fluctuation that they may have to cater to, let's say 10 years down the line or 15 years down the line, the overall loan in itself may not result in that percentage of interest that they had initially thought, and they might end up paying so much more compared to, let's say, a 9% what Indian loan provider is providing. Your thoughts on this, sir?
Yeah. So basically, the first thing good about the World Bank loan is that when you tie up with the multilateral funding agencies, they bring in lot of efficiencies in terms of processes, in terms of standards, in terms of technologies. So that is a gift an organization gets because of funding with the multilateral agencies. We also adopted various good practices in the organization because of the advent of the World Bank in our project financing. First thing. Second thing is that those organizations who are professional in finance management, they will prefer to go for the foreign currency loan, because you have the tool of hedging in case you perceive a risk that, okay, because of the exchange rate fluctuation, you can lend up into a interest rate which is higher than the domestic rate. Then the tools are available. You can go for the derivative trades, you can go for the hedging of the foreign currency loan. So what we did, we basically we went to IIM Ahmedabad, we went to IIM Bangalore to understand that how this risk is to be mitigated. Definitely, when the loan is coming to you at less than 1%, there might be some risk also there in that. So we went to the IIM Bangalore to understand that how to mitigate that risk. We got a lot of learning there. We went to the power grid also, because the power grid is also for last 25 years taking foreign currency loans. So we understood the whole phenomena, and as I informed you earlier, in the last 10 years, my average cost of World Bank loan is 4.5%. That includes the foreign exchange rate variation. So what we do on 6 monthly basis, we make the study of the market and we make a decision whether we should go for the hedging or not. Now, if we decide that, okay, we go for the hedging, then again, we have to see that whether we have to go for the partial hedging or we have to go for the 100% hedging. So we have developed a formula. Using that, we can define what is the risk perception of the foreign currency rate variation and what is the cost of hedging. And it is a trade-off between these two phenomena. And so far, the power grid for the last 15 years, they have not also gone for the hedging, and they have basically availed the cheaper loan. And similarly, HVPN has also found that it is a cheaper loan, and more particularly, it brings the latest technology available in the world. It gives the global market access to the HVPN. So we found it that we should repeat it again in the near future.
Sure, sir. Sure. Thank you so much, sir. That's all I had to ask, sir. Thank you so much for your time. I would very soon seek an appointment to come over and have a little more detailed discussion with you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time, sir.
Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. T.L. Satyaprakash. That was Mr. T.L. Satyaprakash, Secretary Power Department in the Government of Haryana, plus also additional charge of Managing Director, Haryana Vidyut Prasaran Nigam Limited. I now would like to invite our next keynote speaker of the day, Mr. Baldev Singh Sharan, Chairman and Managing Director, Punjab State Power Corporation Limited, a Government of Punjab enterprise. Over to you, Mr. Baldev Singh Saran.
Welcome everyone to Power Utilities Conclave. We are honored to have with us Mr. Baldev Singh Saran, who is the Chairman and Managing Director of Punjab State Power Corporation Limited. I'm joined by Mr. Abhinav Sood, who is Business Advisory Industry Consultant for SAS India, and Mr. Ankit Jain, Director Sales, who manages state government business for SAS. We are here to discuss how technology has helped in bringing down transmission losses and how technology is impacting the power sector, more so in the COVID era. I now hand over the session to Mr. Abhinav Sood, who will take us through the session.
The performance of all the sectors in the economy. I just wanted to understand from you what all were the challenges which you faced during the first, second, and the third wave, and how have you prepared to counter these effects in the subsequent phase, in the subsequent wave, in case it strikes?
And definitely, actually, when this lockdown, COVID lockdown was imposed, all of a sudden on 23rd of March, nobody expected firstly a lockdown and then such a lengthy lockdown. So definitely there were a lot of challenges, particularly because of lockdown and due to the closure of the industry and market also, commercial sector also. So first of all, there was a lot of fluctuation in the demand of the electricity. So naturally, we have to replan our generators of generation to meet the requirement and also to save the grid from any fluctuations. So for that, first foremost challenge was to maintain the 24 hour supply to the all the sectors, particularly in state of Punjab. It is the agriculture sector is the most important, and particularly during this May, June, July period. So due to our this paddy transplantation season, there is a lot of requirement of the power. So first foremost challenge was this to supply the power to all the sector of the consumers, particularly when the industry has closed down. And moreover, our movement of our staff was also restricted due to COVID restrictions. I'm glad to share with you that our team during that period has maintained the excellent record of the supply, and particularly to the hospitals and all the oxygen generating these plants, dispensaries, and all the important public sector or public health their offices and all that. So that was the big challenge, particularly at that time, and that was met with all success during that COVID. And next, the issue was regarding the finances, how to maintain the finances, and how to get the billing realized from the consumers. So for that, during that period, we have stopped the recording of the this readings from all the sectors, and mostly the bills were either sent on average basis or meter reading on trust. We have developed a online system on our website through our billing system. Consumers could load their photo of their meters and send the readings to us, and then automated meter reading wherever the meters were AMR meters were installed. So billing was done on that basis, and also the bills were sent through either through this telephones or emails, and moreover some concessions were also given to the sector wheresoever it was required, particularly because the commercial sector and the industrial sector was totally closed during that period. So we have not sent the bill to this sector on average basis. They were sent on maybe on for commercial it was a 20% average basis, and for the industry it was 40%. So in this way, we tried that some revenue comes to the utility, and also people are not pushed to the back because of their loss of their earnings during that period. And for that also, we were doing wonderful for realization of the bills online. So during that period, during the whole 2019-20, our collection through digital collection mode was 68%. But for 2021, this increased to 76%. And further during this 21-22 up to December 21, so it is now 82%. So a lot of digital payment through digital happened through this period. And the next challenge was reduction in sale, particularly during this period. During this 1920 and 2021, if we see for the whole year, there was 10% increase in the domestic consumption because people were locked in their houses only. And there was a reduction in around 17% in the commercial sector. And there was overall over a year, although there was almost the consumption of the industry during that period has come down to only 20 to 30%. Or over a period of the year, it was down by 7%. So such were the challenges, and moreover, to save our staff, to observe all the COVID restrictions, masking, and then distancing and sanitization, because it was new. So all the challenges were there in that sector, but I'm happy that all of our team made it happen, and we were through that first and second phase.
Thank you so much for your valuable input, sir. I think the incredible work which you and your team have done, specifically from digitization standpoint, will go a long way, and it will create a roadmap through which you can use disruptive analytics going forward and improve further your operations, sir. I think that would be a really good next step for your business, sir. Thank you so much for sharing those insights, sir. I will move on to the next question, sir. This would be around the theme of this discussion, sir. If you look at the recent focus of Ministry of Power, it has been on deploying artificial intelligence and machine learning technologies in the power sector. I would like your opinion as to how these artificial intelligence and machine learning and advanced analytics technologies could be leveraged to improve business operations of power distribution in the state of Punjab, sir.
So definitely these machine learning and this artificial intelligence, particularly I would like to see that this use of this IT technology is virtually it is the only solution to improve upon the performance of the discoms. And during this period, we during this period, RAP-DRP and IPDS scheme, it was put in around 250 subdivisions throughout Punjab in 144 towns. And during this spot billing and meter reading has been introduced in the state. This is only due to have been possible due to this technology. And AMR metering on all the consumers above 100 kilowatt has been implemented in our state, and fully computerized billing system has been introduced with all the details on the these bills are being given. And now to improve on this distribution losses, or I may say that T&C losses. So for this DT metering, smart metering, and all these elements are being used to fix the losses area. And particularly, I would like to tell that in the state of Punjab, we have already segregated all the our AP feeders, because we have around 6,500 AP feeders out of the 12,300 total 11 kV feeders. So AP feeders have been segregated, and all their metering has been done on the feeder basis, on AMR basis. That is being even monitored by our regulatory commission also to account for that system. So all these things are being done, and particularly I see the smart metering is a big tool to reduce this AT&C losses in the future. Although there is a lot of resistance from the public regarding these smart meters. So I would like to share that during our this 19, 20 and 21 comparison I have got it done. So our average distribution losses throughout the state for all the sector of this is 12%. And our this transmission losses are in the range of 3.20%. So total our AT&C losses during 1920, these were 15.34%. However, during this 2021, because all the industrial consumption and all that commercial consumption came down, our losses have little bit increased. Distribution losses have increased to 13%. So due to this, there was some increase in the AT&D losses due to this COVID and all that during this period, 2021.
Sure, sir.
So
Thank
for
you for
this 2021, our AT&C losses, if we because in Punjab there is a lot of subsidy out of around 33,000 revenue, 11,000 crore is a subsidy, and in the for the future it is going to increase. So sometime if we get full subsidy, then our AT&C losses for 2021 are 15.30%, and for 1920 these were 15.34%.
Thank you so much, sir. I think that they are very good numbers. 15% is the threshold with the CRC also, which tries to regulate. Definitely, sir.
But definitely, I would like to point out this that there are some pockets in Punjab, particularly in the border area, along with the Pakistan and all that. We have high losses, and we are trying to control those also.
Absolutely, sir. I'm sure, sir, analytics will play a key role going forward in the same initiatives, and the same is being conveyed by Ministry of Power as well. I will move on to the next question, sir. This is around the renewable energy part. There has been a lot of focus in the central and the state government, and they have been emphasizing on the adoption of renewable energy. And I want to understand from you, sir, how PSPCL is introducing renewables in the energy mix, and what are the goals which you have set, in order to improve the overall renewable energy capacity, sir?
Yes, regarding this renewable energy and RPO compliance, already our state regulator has fixed the targets for this. So for this 2021, our RPO compliance for this non-solar part is 4.70, and for solar it is 3.30. Against this, I am pleased to announce that for 2021, for this non-solar sector, we have achieved 6.12 against 4.70 fixed by our regulator. And for this solar against 3.30, we have achieved 4.40. But for this 2021, targets are really tough. Non-solar, it is 7.70% against 4.70 during the previous year. And for this solar, it is 5% against 3.30. So far to achieve this, already renewable energy around 1,000 megawatt of renewable energy is available with the state, within the state and outside the state. And for future, already we have done already PPAs and all that for 1,870 megawatt. So with this for this future project within our state also, we have floated tenders for 150 megawatt of solar plant and 250 megawatt outside the state also, for which we have got very good rates. So with all this, and also we are getting some power, this green power also from exchange also we are purchasing. So with all these, we are almost able to meet the targets fixed by the regulator.
Thank you so much for sharing the insight, sir. I just want to understand one more point regarding this, sir. Like we spoke about the COVID-19 lockdowns, there was an incredible impact on the demand side. So the forecasting part became really critical. And also, sir, since you are increasing your renewable portfolio, the renewable generation forecasting is also going to be a key problem going forward. Are there any steps which you have intended to take to solve these two business problems specifically, the problem of demand forecasting and renewable generation forecasting, sir?
Definitely, already, definitely, although at our own we are analyzing because we have a lot of historical data with us within our state. The most uncertainty because in the Punjab, we have a very unique load profile during this summer. So we call it paddy season from June to September. Say last year, our demand was around 15,000 megawatt. That peak demand during that period. And definitely, whenever there is a rain, because most of our load is agriculture load and this AC load and all that. So whenever this load happens, rain happens to be there, so this load comes down. Also during because there is no agriculture load during this winter season, after that paddy is harvested. So our demand of the state demand comes down to nearly half during the day, around 7,000 megawatt, and it goes down nowadays during December, January. It goes down to around 3,500 megawatt. So for that, definitely we have to manage. But luckily, solar power matches our load demand because we have maximum load demand during the day, and solar is a very good option for us. During night, we do not have that demand, so solar is also not there. So we are really trying. One more thing, we have a 600 megawatt hydro plant at our Ranjit Sagar dam. We were unable to run it on all the 4 zones as per our requirement because then water cannot be controlled and goes waste to Pakistan. So now we have planned a Shahpur Kandi project, which is a joint project between Punjab and J&K. It is going to be completed during 2024. And with that, we will be able to get 600 megawatt of power within 5 minutes. And definitely, if there is a load throw off, then we can switch those off. So that will be a very balancing feature available with us when that the Shahpur Kandi project will be operational. Otherwise, definitely we have to raise our thermal plants because we have 2-3 very big IPPs, independent power producers in the state. So load fluctuations are met through those on. So definitely this as we are adding this additional RE power, and particularly the wind power, the certainty is definitely there are many fluctuations in that. So for that, we have to find as India as a whole and state also a balancing mechanism whenever there is a loss of generation or loss of this load. So for that, already at the ministerial level, at the state level, and at the national level, the efforts are being made.
Thank you so much for sharing those valuable insights, sir. My next question is specifically around the challenges which the power sector is facing very critically, which is the theft problem, sir. I want to understand from you, sir, how PSPCL is improving efficiencies and reducing power thefts. Are there currently any technological interventions which you are using, or any technology which you are using for identifying the theft cases in PSPCL?
Yes, definitely, definitely. First of all, although in the past we were calculating the overall through this energy counting, we were calculating the losses as a whole. But during the last 3-4 years, we have started calculating the losses feeder wise. Number one, every feeder is metered at the this grid end, at the grid end, and also the consumers are metered. So our agriculture load has already been segregated because there is these are unmetered AP consumers are unmetered, and there was no proper accounting of energy. So now the AP segregation of the AP feeders. So there is a complete energy counting at the this feeder inlet and also at the consumer end. So further we have for the last 4 years we have segregated, we have started calculating the losses category wise because we have 3, 4, 5 categories of the consumers. First is a this in the rural area we call it UPS, urban better supply. So we are calculating the losses of all the UPS feeders, subdivision wise, division wise, and state as a whole of that category of rural area. We are calculating the losses of the urban area. We are separating. We are also calculating the losses of the industrial area separately, and also independent feeders separately. So with that technology, or with this type of metering, we are able to fix the areas where we have higher losses and where losses are within the range. So definitely with this segregation and with the identification of the areas where there are losses, so we are using this technology. One is that this DT metering is one issue, and also the meters. We have almost there are some area where due to some law and order problem we are unable to. Otherwise, we have already put the meters outside the consumer premises, even in the villages. But still, there are some pockets where we are unable to do that due to the resistance by the public. So by removing those meters, our losses have really reduced in some area. So with this segregation of AP feeders, we are able to check up our losses. Also, this technology, the next, as I have already told, smart metering is the, I see, the final solution to pinpoint and to arrest these AT&C losses. And I would also like, actually, some part of this is the law and order, is another part to reduce this AT losses, and also the governance at all the levels, and the response of the people and society is also a factor which comes to add or to reduce the AT&C losses.
Thank you so much for sharing those insights, sir. I think definitely, since we have put those feeders in and so much data is flowing in through EMIs and smart meters, some technology around the AIML space could be leveraged for helping you further. And definitely, sir, there are technologies in the field, and we would like to engage with you around the same part. So if you allow us, definitely, sir, we'll bring our solution to you, and you can evaluate and we can discuss further. So
definitely, we will come. We will definitely welcome, and we will be very pleased to have a partnership with you. So definitely, because this will be a win-win situation, even for the public, even those who are stealing the power, even it will be a win-win situation for them, because then this rates will come down.
Absolutely,
when the discoms are and particularly the honest consumers then will have to pay less. So definitely the future is in the technology, application of the technology only.
Thank you so much for sharing those insights, sir. Looking forward to engaging with you. My last question for the day, sir, is around your upcoming plans, sir. So we understand that for the way forward for 2022, any noteworthy projects, sir, around the how to improve the power distribution side, supply side, or overall health of the Punjab? Are you planning any scheme which is coming up in this year for the same part?
Definitely, the upcoming scheme already, first of all, the RDSS scheme has been floated by the central government. We have put a scheme to install around this smart meters in a phased manner, as has been envisaged in that RDSS scheme. Already, our DRC, Distribution Force Committee at the state level, they have cleared this project of worth around rupees 25,000 to 25,000 crores, and the issue was put up to the cabinet because only due to these elections in our state. So this is pending. I hope it will be cleared after the elections are over. So in that scheme, already there is a scheme. There is a provision of installing this smart meters, and we have around 86 lakh this metered consumers except AP. Overall, we have around 1 crore consumers in the state, including AP. So out of these 86 lakh consumers are domestic, commercial, and industrial consumers. So on all those meters, on those consumers, there is a plan in that RDSS scheme to provide the smart meters on Totex mode. So, so this is the major, I see a scheme which will go a long way in reducing this AT&C losses. Apart from this, this already DT metering and feeder metering, artificial intelligence and machine learning, all these things, solutions we will try to apply in our system to improve the system.
Sir, a quick question around the same part. The artificial intelligence, machine learning, and the analytics part which you just specified, will it be part of the same smart metering RFP which you are currently drafting?
It will be a separate from this scheme. In that RDS scheme, it is only smart metering and some strengthening of this distribution system. So this will be a separate scheme. IT solutions.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much for sharing your insights, sir. It was pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for your time, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, that was Mr. Baldev Singh Sharan, CMD of Punjab State Power Corporation Limited, Government of Punjab Enterprise. With this, we have been fortunate enough to hear to the insight and wisdom of two of our keynote speakers, Mr. T.L. Satyaprakash, the Secretary Power Government of Haryana and CMD of Punjab State Power Corporation. Now, ladies and gentlemen, delegates from across the country, please join me in welcoming an eminent panel of experts from various power utilities of the country. We have an interesting panel discussion now on the topic artificial intelligence and machine learning in power sector, a promising future. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Shiv Anand Tayal, an IAS officer and Managing Director of Jammu Power Distribution Corporation Limited. Joining Mr. Shiv Anand Tayal would be Mr. Devashish Sarkar, Managing Director of Tripura State Electricity Corporation Limited. Then up north, we have Dr. Bashrat Qayyum, MD of Kashmir Power Distribution Corporation Limited. We have Director, Finance and Accounts and Chief Financial Officer, West Bengal State Electricity Transmission Company Limited, Mr. Sabyasachi Roy. In the panel discussion, we would be having Mr. R.N. Vishnoi, Superintending Engineer IT, Jodhpur Vidyut Vitaran Nigam Limited. And from the industry side, we would be having Mr. B. Radhakrishna, CFSC Director, Fraud and Security Intelligence, SAS India. Avinav Sood, Industry Consultant for Energy and Utilities, SAS India. And Ankit Jain, Director State Government Business, SS India. So very interesting panel here from both the Discoms, Transcoms and Gencoms, as well as from the industry solution provider, SAS India. The topic of discussion, AI and ML in transforming the power sector, how promising the sector is, and what is the scope and potential of technologies like AI and ML, how technologies like AI and ML can really help in the transformation of the power utility sector. Welcome and over to you. Namaskar to all of the esteemed panelists here, and a very warm welcome to today's edition of Elets Power Utilities Conclave 2022. Elets Power Utilities Conclave is a joint endeavor by Elets Technomedia and SAS India to discuss and brainstorm some of the technological innovations and technological initiatives, best practices, challenges and opportunities which are there in India's power sector. Elets Technomedia is a 20 years old organization which is into the domain of business consulting, publications, and knowledge portals. We have got 4 magazines on 4 different sectors: health sector, education sector, governance sector, and banking sector. And the common thread joining all these 4 magazines is promotion of usage of ICT-based innovations in each spheres of governance in these 4 sectors of health, education, banking, and governance. Continuing the momentum, today it is a pleasure and honor to be joined here by some esteemed experts and panelists from different power utilities from the length and breadth of the country in the north as well as in the eastern part of the country. As we move towards a $5 trillion economy, this transition or this journey towards a $5 trillion economy would not be possible if we are not matching it up with a matching production, capacity building, and operational efficiency in the power sector. In fact, the consumption of power, consumption of energy is directly proportional to the development index of any country. India is today the 3rd largest consumer of electricity in the world and second largest consumer and 3rd largest producer of electricity in the world. The total installed capacity of power in the country as on October 2020 was in the range of 273 gigawatts, which Government of India plans to ramp up to 1000 gigawatts by the year 2030. So how is this transitioning going to happen? This transition will happen on 2 fronts. The first front is the capacity building, wherein we ramp up the production capacity, the generation capacity of India's power sector. And the second and the more important is increasing the operational efficiency, increasing the energy efficiency, energy conservation, and optimizing the energy usage in the power sector. Unless and until we optimize both these 2 factors, power augmentation and power efficient utilization, we are not going to keep up with the rapid pace of urbanization and rapid pace of industrialization. In this context, it's really a pleasure and honor here to welcome all the esteemed panelists from different power utilities from the country. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Shiv Anantayal, Managing Director of Jammu Power Distribution Company Limited. Mr. Shiv Anantayal is a senior IS officer of 2012 batch from Chhattisgarh cadre and currently in deputation to the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Welcome to this panel discussion, Mr. Yal.
Thank you so much.
Joining Mr. Shiv Anantayal would be Mr. Devashish Sarkar, Managing Director in charge of Tripura State Electricity Corporation. Welcome to this panel discussion, Mr. Devashish Sarkar. We are also joined by Mr. R.N. Bishnoi, Superintending Engineer IT in Jodhpur Vidyut Vitaran Nigam Limited. We would shortly be joined by his boss, the Managing Director of JVVNL, Mr. Pramod Tak, but we have been informed that he is still in a meeting. So till the time he gets free, we'll be having the views from Mr. Bishnoi, his expert comments on the technological transformation and digital initiatives in JVVNL, Jodhpur Vidyut Vitaran Nigam Limited. And in due course of time, from the government again, we'll be joined by Director, Finance and Administration and the Chief Financial Officer in West Bengal Power Distribution Company Limited, Mr. Sabyasachi Roy. And from the industry side, please join me in welcoming Mr. Manshu Bansal, Senior Business Solutions Manager in SAS India. Welcome to this program, Manshu Bansal.
Thank you, Krishna. Thank you.
So to begin with the discussions, I would request Mr. Shiv Anand Tayal, Managing Director, Jammu Power Distribution Corporation, for his opening comments on this topic, AI/ML powered advanced analytics and the technological initiatives and innovations in the power sector. Over to you, Mr. Tayal.
Thank you, Krishna ji. First of all, I extend a very hearty gratitude to Elets for organizing this event, and I would like to say I'm honored to be a part of this panel. You have raised a very important point of discussion, which is on the use of analytics, on the use of machine learning and artificial intelligence in the field of power sector and discoms. I believe that most of the discoms are currently going a revolutionary change, because the government of India has laid down very global standard guidelines which have to be achieved in the next few years, and we are moving towards a regime where we will have a single scheme. I believe most of the discoms have made proposals for RDSS, and the whole distribution sector has to be revamped, and we have to bring our ATC losses down to 12 to 15% by 2025. So I must start by telling that Jammu and Kashmir has traditionally, because of some legacy issues, the ATC losses have been amongst the highest in the country, and unbelievably high, as high as 60 to 70%. I would give a particular example of the discoms that we are working in, because that's like the most challenging part of our day-to-day work, and that is to bring down the theft and to bring down the pilferage of power. Simultaneously, we have to ensure that power is reaching everywhere. Simultaneously, we have to ensure that the billing is done accurately and efficiently. And most of the people who are not paying for the electricity, they have to be brought on board and brought into the system, and the dues have to be recovered. So just a back of the hand calculation gives us the figure that around 5,000 crores is due from our consumers as a legacy billing target. And the government is facing the problems of compounding of these liabilities, and all our balance sheets are a problem. So the core issue here, again, like what we started from, is that the electricity is not reaching the right the people who are paying on time, and it is reaching the people who are stealing it. So that is where the role of MI and AI, ML and AI will come in. As we are moving towards the scheme of ensuring that all the flow of electricity, the entire flow of electricity, the entire energy accounting, the feeder metering, the DT metering, the smart metering, it all comes into place. And every kilowatt that is generated and transmitted to the discom is accounted for. And we should recover whatever we are spending on it, at least. I'm not talking about making a profit, but at least we should recover our cost of supply. So the role of machine learning here is to identify that every discom has more than 10 lakh customers. So we have to identify the areas where more pilferage is taking place, what all solutions can be done, how to ensure that manual intervention is minimized, how to ensure that meters are not tampered and no illegal hooking takes place, and how the technical losses, which all patches in the system are more vulnerable to technical losses, and where we can reduce those, or wherever we have energy inefficiencies in transmission or distribution because of old transformers or things like that. So those things, if we do manually, they are done in a very ad hoc manner. They are done, everything is dependent on the person looking after this local system. But if we do it through machine learning process or AI process, it will be done in a very uniform way and in a very efficient way. So naturally, in the near future, we will be moving towards a regime where private companies and we will be taking assistance from various consultants on these type of technologies to ensure that whatever electricity is like a precious commodity now. So whatever we are producing or wheeling, it has to be accounted for. So I believe that this topic, I'm not going into much detail right now because these are the opening remarks only, but I believe that like what you said, that machine learning has to be at the forefront of technological initiatives, so as to ensure that our discoms are properly in profit in the coming years. Because if they are not in profit or if they are not financially viable, then the whole idea of making them corporations or making buying electricity and selling electricity it gets defeated. So that's all I have to say in the opening remarks, and as and when the topic develops, we will be happy to contribute further. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Tayal. Well mentioned that we have got 10 lakh users there in your jurisdiction, and reaching out these 10 lakh users without technological interventions would not be a feasible idea in today's times when accountability and transparency is expected from the response. So taking forward the discussions now, I invite Mr. Debashish Sarkar, Managing Director of the Uttar State Electricity Corporation, for his opening comments.
Good afternoon, Mr. Misra, and good afternoon, my fellow panelists. I am also privileged to be a part of this panel discussion, which is a very relevant subject in the today's scenario, power scenario. As we are all aware that basically in the 2000 in Glasgow convention, our honorable Prime Minister has confirmed that we will go for a clean energy basically. So energy reductions and use of more clean and fuel energy is a target of the everyone's, and wastage of energy. So basically the optimum utilization of electrical energy is the need of the hour. And to guide this optimum utilization without the machine, without the system improvement, without your utilization of artificial intelligence, we cannot do this, achieve this thing. Only by manually it is not possible. So artificial intelligence and machine learning and other things is ultimately has to be integrated in the power system for a better improvement of the performance. As my fellow panelist has already told, for any state utility, basic problem is the high AT&C loss. So whatever the power we are purchasing, if we are not selling it properly, and if the utility is not commercially and financially viable, so it is the very existence of the utility is at stake. So make the utility viable, utility financially healthy. So system AI interference is very essential. As you are all aware, there was a system of conditioning monitoring, and conditioning monitoring will help us to reduce the preventive maintenance. So as we go on introducing more and more condition monitoring activity, like with the help of the this artificial intelligence, like the monitoring of the power system, power transformers, monitoring of the distribution transformer activities, reducing the losses in technical losses, as well as the introduction of the smart meters to reduce the commercial losses, and other features also. So basically it will help us to reduce both technical as well as the commercial losses, which will ultimately improve the overall performance of the utility and ultimately make the utility viable, financially viable. So in the coming futures, though it is not utilized in a full-fledged in all the utilities, but it has started in a small way, and I think in a near future it will come in a big way, and it will be the part and parcel of the all utility activities for their efficiency improvement. So this is my opening comment. I think in the coming futures we will get more and more utilization of the AI for the overall efficiency improvement of the utility. Thank you.
Mr. Sarkar, I would like to come back to you on the on the scenario of AT and C losses in the state of Tripura, and what are the initiatives and innovations which you are taking there in place to overcome those AT and C losses and achieve the targeted objective of bringing down the losses to the level of 11 to 12%. But before that, a quick comment from now I would invite our industry representative, Mr. Manshu Bansal. Manshu, your opening comments on this topic before I take the discussion to Mr. Bishnoi.
Yeah, so happy to be a part of this panel discussion. I'm very happy that senior officers are a part of this panel who are proactive in taking a dip at the artificial intelligence and machine learning enabled solutions to help in the government functioning. So very well, SAS plays an important role as a technology partner in the success of our governments, and we are there to assist the governments in achieving the right objective with the right time frame. So thank you.
Mr. Isab, your opening comments on this topic of the technological initiatives in India's power utility sector, and particularly with reference to AI ML powered analytics. Mr. R. N. Bishnoi, Superintending Engineer, Jodhpur Vidyut Vijaran Nigam.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. Krishna. Thank you, Elets, for giving me opportunity to join this eminent panel. Good afternoon to all the eminent panelists. Today's topic of use of machine learning and AI in the power distribution business is a very important and upcoming subject. And it will have a very critical role in DISCOM's business processes optimization. Our DISCOM is a very large area, desert DISCOM, having area equivalent to almost Gujarat state. And to optimize the revenue collection, energy audit, and metering, billing, collection operations, the role of machine learning and this artificial intelligence will be a critical one. This machine learning will also have a important role in power purchase cost optimization through accurate assessment of load forecasting, which will optimize the power requirement for the DISCOM, which has a major component in our input revenue requirements. And AI and machine learning are also very much relevant for revenue optimization in terms of identification of consumer behavior, their payment habits, and default levels, etc. So I think this machine learning and AI will have a increasing role day by day once the relevant tools are developed and start using in the DISCOM business processes. Thank you.
So thank you, Mr. Bishnoi. The common thread which is emerging from all these speakers here is that nobody is denying that the role of AI and role of ML is going to be increasing with each passing day if we were to bring in more operational efficiency. The COVID pandemic has impacted all of us, all sectors of the economy, including the utility sector as well. And in fact, utilities was one of those sectors which had to keep their operations on and on, because even if we talk of digitalization, whatever level of digitization takes place across all the sectors, unless there is a power, there is electricity, no digital technology will be handy. So how the time must have been really difficult during those times, Mr. Sivan and Dayal. How did you manage to operate the organization in those difficult times, particularly during the lockdown, ensuring that the operations are on without interruption, feeding electricity on time, and how did you leverage technology to ensure this seamless operations at that time?
See, with all the crisis or the pandemic, there were certain problems, but obviously the good thing was many people in our department, they organized themselves and volunteered for better work. So we ensured, and we had a mandate from government to ensure that no essential service is disrupted, and most essential service is electricity, because all hospitals, all oxygen plants depend on this. So our teams have worked day in and day out, and so, but yes, if we had more technological interventions, so And if we could make the system more automated, I mean, in general, in the future, it can create a lot of resilience in the system by ensuring that any calamity or the system is not really dependent to a large extent on the human. And obviously, there are certain things that cannot be replaced, like maintenance in far-flung areas or remote areas. That has to be done by our ground staff. And we are lucky to have very dedicated people in our team. So, but I believe that in future disaster planning and mitigation, the role of electricity discoms is very important, because you have to ensure that all the related paraphernalia like hospitals or industries or wherever employment centers are there, or very critical life-saving systems are there, the supplies at these points cannot get affected. So we have to give them first priority, and accordingly the system has to adapt itself. So that's our experience from here in Jammu.
Sir, you mentioned about the need of AI and ML-based technologies in your opening comments, wherein you did mention that how to check in the pilferage or how to automate most of the processes, minimize the human interventions, and other such initiatives. I'd like to know more about those initiatives which you have.
See, the initiatives that we have started is basically that around, so we have 10 lakh customers. We have started smart metering the customers. Most discoms have. So in the next 2 years, we'll be covering 2 to 3 years, we'll be covering all our customers. The problem here is that a lot of electricity, at least 30 to 40% is stolen. So, and the theft takes place directly by hooking to the bare conductor of distribution. So we have 40,000 transformers. We will be putting smart meters on each of the transformers also, so that the data of energy output from transformers is matched with the the smart meters that are in the downstream. And if there's any mismatch, the results can be automatically highlighted, and the systems have to be tamper-proof, and the data has to be real time, so that no post-facto tampering can be done. So now, when we are dealing with data, real-time data at such a large scale, so that's the role of that's where machine learning and AI comes in. So the algorithms will automatically find out where the problems are and highlight them. And if there are any specific problems that we would like to find out, we will program the system accordingly. Also, there is a system of graded subsidy. Like the poor customers have to be given more subsidy and more relaxation, and people with more paying capacity have to be given some lesser concessions. So all these things will be calculated automatically whenever a new customer applies for a connection. So all the backend data will be fetched from his bank account or Aadhaar, and the systems will accordingly decide what are the tariffs that have to be fixed, or what are the subsidies that have to be given for this particular customer. So such things are totally dependent on our algorithms. And thirdly, like when we are giving electricity to far-flung areas or hilly areas, we have to ensure that some more investment is required than normal in terms of material, in terms of manpower, in terms of maintenance. So so all these things have to be calculated very optimally, and so accordingly the flow of electricity, the gap requirements, wherever more investment has to be done. So rather than manual or political interventions, we will try that things come out from standard algorithms, and that's our third area where we would like to bring in machine learning and AI.
So basically, you are talking of self-sustainability, that you are able to fund in your own expenses.
Yes.
Mr. Sakar, would you like to add on to the comments by Mr. Shivanantayal regarding initiatives in your DISCOM?
As far as our Tripura DISCOM is concerned, in a distribution sector, what we have started the Internet of Things for the distribution transformer. Basically, we are monitoring the distribution transformer performance. This is basically the conditional monitoring activity. It will help us to reduce the transformer failure by online monitoring of the distribution transformers. And we have taken it as a pilot project. And once it is successful, we will extend it to the other distribution transformer, as well as also for the power transformer, for the better health monitoring of the distributed transformers, and thus reducing the transformer failure rate. That is the first intervention we have started. As of now, additionally, also we have started the install. We are one of the very few states which has commissioned the pilot smart metering project in Agartala town. 45,000 smart meters we have installed, and through this we have started covering a portion of the Agartala consumers. And now we are, through this ADB and our RDSS project, we are targeting around another 3 to 3.5 lakhs smart meters for the covering the at least all the municipal areas of the consumers through smart metering, so that the commercial losses can be reduced substantially. As well as the material management and other things are concerned, we are also introducing the basically ERP system we have started utilizing for the optimum utilization of our 3 modules we are using, basically for the financial cases, for the material management, as well as for the HR modification. These are 3 locations we are using the ERP for the optimum utilization of our manpower, for the proper financial control, as well as for the proper material reconciliation. So these are the different fields we are utilizing the system basically, and we are expecting further utilization in the coming futures through the different central government scheme as well as the ADV scheme we are implementing in the coming 1 and 2 years. And through this, we are trying to implement more and more of AI-based technology for the better efficiency improvement.
Mr. Vishnu, would you like to add on something to what Mr. Devashish Sarkar or Shivanantayal just mentioned? And you may also like to elaborate upon how digital disruptions are transforming the power sector in the state with reference to the role of AI in this transformation. Vishnu sir.
Yes, sir. Since electricity distribution is completely a consumer-facing business and having multiple touch points with consumers, pandemic completely shattered the consumer touch points and connections, and so distribution business severely affected. It was taken care by adopting various digital technologies and encouraged to adopt by the consumers. Consumer behavior also changed and critically adopted the same, whereas prior to pandemic, they were reluctant. Technologies like receiving bills in digital mode, digital payments, using web self-service, or mobile apps for seeking various services from DISCOM or centralized customer care center for different type of complaints. All these reduced footfall in various offices of DISCOMs. And the DISCOMs are at the same time facing challenges of having less IT penetration and having IT solutions which are not seamlessly integrated so far. Also, management of various IT solution provider companies, technology upgradation, cyber security without a competent IT cell is a big challenge. So all DISCOMs having different business processes, and accordingly changes in available product become a challenge, like maintaining ERP like SAP and Oracle solutions, etc. Hence, there is a lot of opportunity to implement technology solutions in DISCOMs, bring all data on a single platform for MIS, data analytics, and support of critical decisions. So for that, we are have implemented the ERP solutions for HR, financial accounting, MM and inventory control, and works and project management to improve the decision-making process and support the internal business processes. At the same time, we are expanding the consumer-centric facilities using IT technologies like pull SMS service to view their consumer bills and pay online and register their complaints online using mobile apps, etc. Thank you. So
Very
I will have
points. Yeah, please carry on.
Sir, I will have to take leave because some urgent meeting is there. I will try to rejoin the session.
We'll try to wrap up this discussion soon. If you may kindly hold on for another 10 minutes. We will not continue till 5, if it is possible. Otherwise, you may like to rejoin as mentioned by you.
Yeah. Please.
But
please.
one very pertinent point, just stay on for 2 minutes. You raised, Mr. Bishnoi, that discoms like JV, NNL are facing the issue of seamless integration of technological solutions. So perhaps
Yes.
Mr. Manshu Bansal from SAS India may like to comment on this challenge which discoms like you are facing. How SAS India can actually help in the seamless integration of technologies like AI and ML, IoT, etc. in discoms.
Yeah. Valid point. Technologies today are in a situation to integrate data from multiple sources. And there are automated systems which deploy these artificial intelligence and machine learning algorithms in addition to business rules, which were talks of the older times to generate cases for field audits, investigation and all. So there's a higher probability that whatever is being generated as alerts, risk scores into the system will have a higher propensity of fraud, theft getting involved, and which increases the overall operational efficiency. So that is where, and compared to the older days, again, where there were a lot of reports being pushed into the system, no feedback was coming. In this machine learning based solutions like SAS, the feedback is of utmost importance so that the future results are of more significance, are of more true positive in nature compared to the traditional rule based approach. So yes, technology is definitely able to improve on the objectives as well as the operational functioning of the departments.
So Manshu, what role do you see for analytics in IT, OT integration space? How critical will data quality analysis and AI/ML be in the digital transformation of power utilities? Because you have seen Mr. R.N. Bishnoi from Jodhpur Discoms, Devashish Sarkar from Tripura Discom, or for that matter, Shivanand Dayalji from Jammu. All of them have highlighted the need of AI/ML. And everybody is in unison that this is the time, this is the idea whose time has come, AI and ML. So if you like to further elaborate on this.
Yeah, so increasingly there's a lot of traction that we are seeing with the customers to have ready-made solutions, something which can be quickly deployed, easy, configurable, customizable to the ever-changing requirements of the customer, and going into an enterprise-based approach with the acceptance of the solution in an easy manner with a minimal training which is required for the end user to accept those solutions and put them as part of their daily functioning. And that is where there's a IT intervention which is required in these siloed solutions to bring all of the data together and then bring the case into more and more results which are enriching for the departments and worth the time of the expensive human intel which is there, which is of utmost importance when they're working on these cases. So technology is definitely one of the important aspects to enable the department officers work on their day in day out activities is something which I definitely see as a value add when there is an adoption of these technologies for the day in day out activities.
Great, Mr. Manshu. Actually, this is a symbiotic relationship wherein the industry user and industry solution provider, they have to act in tandem, complement each other's efforts, complement each other's requirements and solutions, which can effectively enhance the overall operations and overall effectiveness of the entire sector. A quick closing comment from Mr. Arun Bishnoi and Devashish Sarkar both before we conclude this session. I was expecting a representation from West Bengal Power Development Corporation, but so far he has not joined, so I'm presuming he's still stuck there. Closing comments, Mr. Devashish Sarkar.
As we have discussed through our different eminent panelists, so we all emphasize the need of AI for the coming futures, and right from the power purchase optimization up to the power utilization in every sphere, AI is the need of the hour. And I think in coming days, in all field, right from the transmission, generation, and distributions, machine learning and AI will be utilized to improve the overall efficiency of the utility, because ultimately everything depends on the performance of the utility. As you know, benchmark benchmark is the SEFI, SEDI, and KD of a KD data is the benchmark of an utility performance. So it all depends how you improve your performance to reduce the supply interruption, to utilize your power optimally, and how you improve your overall efficiency by optimal utilization of manpower and other assets. So for this without machine supports and without technology support, only through the manual intervention it is not possible. So in the coming days, more and more such type of intervention will come to have a more better impact over the utility performance, and ultimately it will make the utility more efficient and more viable in the coming future. That is the hope of, that is the basically ray of hope for us, and we all hope ultimately we can achieve the target set by the central government of reducing the AT&C loss to 12 to 15% by more and more utilization of the technology. Thank you.
Making the utilities more viable and more optimal. So before I invite Mr. R.N. Bishnoi for his quick closing comments, one question which I left, one important point, which I would like to again pose to Mr. Manshu Bansal here. Manshu, Ministry of Power is emphasizing heavily on leveraging AI/ML technologies to improve business operations of power utilities. Can you suggest how AI/ML and analytics can be leveraged to solve critical problems of theft detection? This is something which Mr. Tayal did try to touch in partially. Energy forecasting, again, here Mr. Devashish Sarkar did mention about energy forecasting and loss reduction in power distribution sector. Quick comment, Mr. Manshu Bansal, 2 minutes.
Yeah. So electricity is the second most stolen entity in the world after credit card theft. So at SAS, we have been working from 15 years to detect and reduce energy theft for power distribution companies. The solution is to provide integrated platform with embedded artificial intelligence and machine learning technologies designed specifically for detecting energy theft. With over 40 years of experience, we understand the applications of artificial intelligence models in business operations. Very importantly, criminals are ahead of the curve with us. They continuously find new ways of taking the system and commit crime. The key to reducing theft and improving collections is a continuous innovation process. Systems today which are deployed at these sites should leverage artificial intelligence, machine learning, streaming analytics to stay ahead of the criminals. And these systems should also be holistic in nature. It should be able to detect financial crimes, electricity theft, administrative theft in order to improve the bottom line of utilities. So just to summarize, SAS has implemented similar projects globally and in India to help utilities solve these problems. One of our customers of SAS is CEMIG, which is the largest power distribution company in Brazil and is responsible for 12% of the national distribution. Customer wanted to detect and mitigate losses related to energy theft, billing errors, and meter failure. It was estimated that a non-technical loss has a financial impact of around 8,880 crores a year, which is a huge money. By leveraging SAS analytics platform, we were able to successfully increase the detection rate of theft from 35% to 50%, leading to savings of approximately 38 CR for the customer. So similar returns can be expected from Indian implementations as well. And I think which is the need of the hour for India to pick up these technologies.
Great, Mr. Manshu Bansal. Very nice insights. We do look forward to more such collaboration between the industry and the utilities. A closing comment from Mr. R.N. Bishnoi, but before I invite Mr. Bishnoi, I can see on my screen Mr. Sabyasachi Roy, Director, Finance and Administration, and also the Chief Financial Officer in West Bengal Power Development Corporation. A very warm welcome to this panel discussion, Mr. Sabyasachi Roy. Mr. Bishnoi, Sabyasachi Roy साहब, बहुत-बहुत स्वागत आपका. Welcome to this panel. Mr. Roy की पास शायद अभी आवाज नहीं जा रही है. Closing comment from Mr. Bishnoi before I move back to Mr. Sabyasachi Roy.
Yes, Mr. Krishna. With the increasing quantity of smart devices and level of automation in power distribution discoms, the role of machine learning and AI will in the coming times. And it will have a critical support in decision-making, power procurement decisions, reduction of technical and commercial losses, and renewable integration, which is an increasing component day by day in the grid, and data analytics. So it will have a critical role in management of a distribution companies in future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vishnoy, for this insight. We do look forward to more such interactions with you in your future. Manshu, till the time he stabilizes, if you may like to further elaborate upon your solution so that the speaker from West Bengal is able to get to know through those solutions from SAS India.
Yeah, so power utilities in India are investing heavily a lot in the IT and OT applications over the last decade or so. The issue is that the data residing in these applications is in fragmented manner. So in order to analyze the data properly and generate actionable insights, it is important to tap the intelligence of all IT and OT solutions in the existing IT landscape of the utilities. So due to fragmented procurement processes, the make and type of these applications vary for each other and requires unique customization. Advanced analytic solutions like SAS can help resolve these issues of the customer. A smart data management solution will allow seamless SAS extraction, integration, aggregation, imputation, and enrichment of the data. So all of these capabilities are provided in a single interface with easy to use graphical user interfaces, thus helping a lot in the customization processes also. After the data quality analytics, the focus shift towards the customizing artificial intelligence and machine learning models via low code or no code interfaces and deploy these to solve actual business problems for the customer. So we also follow a similar approach for one of our customers in India, wherein we are deploying multiple machine learning models to forecast day ahead demand for a power distribution company. By leveraging data-driven approach for model building and customization, we have been able to achieve a forecast accuracy of more than 98.2% and subsequently saved UI penalties for the customer. This has enabled customer to model unknown events like COVID-19 lockdowns and save substantial UI charges. So forecasting is one use case, while there could be other use cases which can be delivered by the use of this artificial intelligence and machine learning models. And we stand with a upright readiness to deploy them for our utilities, especially in the distribution sector.
Thank you, Manshu Bansal from SAS India.
I would like to introduce, to begin with, I would like to introduce Dr. Basharat Qayyum, sir. Dr. Qayyum is the Managing Director of Kashmir Power Distribution Corporation Limited. We also have Mr. B. Radhakrishna. He is Director Security Intelligence, SAS India. Mr. Radhakrishna is one of our eminent panelists. And I would like to introduce Mr. Abhinav Sood. Mr. Sood is Industry Consultant for Energy and Utilities, SAS India. Mr. Sood is also the moderator for our this session. So I would like to invite Mr. Abhinav Sood to please proceed with this session. Mr. Sood, please.
Thank you, Vijay, for your introduction, and thank you, Dr. Basharat and RK sir, for joining the call. It's a pleasure speaking to you, and thank you for honoring us with your presence. Basis the theme of this session, I will be seeking answers for a few questions specific to the power sector scenario in India. So I will start off with this session with Dr. Basharat sir. Sir, I want to understand from you, how are you managing to achieve your mission statement? The mission statement states that it is to provide reliable and quality power at a competitive cost and to reach global standards in reduction and reducing of distribution losses. So I want to understand what are the steps you are taking to achieve this mission, sir.
Yeah, thank you so much. At the outset, I would like to thank SAS India, Elets, and Ego for giving this opportunity. And a very good afternoon to all of you. Chill filled with some sunshine also from Srinagar. And as rightly pointed out, that how we are kind of aiming to achieve our mission statement. So one is reliability of the power supply. That is the consumer side of the issue, and then the DISCOM side of the issue, that we have to look at the picture of DISCOM's financial viability also. And I have a small presentation. I'll just quickly go through and give some statistics of the corporation and what we are planning in terms of the technology, usage of technology to bring our losses down, as well as to give reliable supply to the consumers. So I gave the terminology of leveraging technology to provide reliable power supply as well as to reduce the discount losses. So this is a brief snapshot where we have 1 million plus consumers in Kashmir Power Discom with our assets, substations 261 and distribution transformers around 36,000. And then remaining these line lengths are provided, and we have some areas where these are off grid, but we provide them supply through DG sets. Some areas, one is Gurez and then Matsil and Tulel. So around 26 DG sets. It's a small area, and we are also planning to connect this to grid in coming year. So next, please. This is not a very bright picture of the Discom. First, I would like to tell the audience that Kashmir Power Discom is not very old. We are hardly 28-month-old Discom, and these are the wait-and-see loss numbers. Fortunately or unfortunately, we have very high losses. So in first quarter of this year, we had a loss of around 77% AT&C loss. And then we tried to kind of bring those down. In second quarter, we brought that down to 62%. And for first 2 quarters, we still have an aggregate loss of 69%. And now I will briefly go into the reasons why we have so high losses. One is that Discom is not very old. We are still in infancy. It was earlier PDD department, Power Development Department, and unbundling happened in 2019. Major reason over here why we have very high losses is we have only 30% of our consumers out of million plus meter, and rest of the 70% consumers are billed on flat rates. So that is one major reason. And second is then even those 30% meters, most of them are non-compliant. Then there is human intervention where we rely upon the meter readers, and there is under-reporting also. And why I am highlighting this issue is that this is the area where we can use technology as is the theme of this panel discussion, that where we can use AI and ML to bring these losses down, to provide reliable supply to the consumers, as well as to reduce the human interface. Next. So I will quickly jump upon the interventions that we have so far kind of started and what we are planning in the future. So one is that we have already won for Srinagar city the supervisory control and data acquisition. The SCADA program is going on for 70 substations that will cover our Srinagar city. And also these I don't think I need to go into the details what are the benefits of the SCADA. But by and large, again, there's a remote kind of remotely controlled where we have in 70 odd stations where we need to have a person at every station. With this functioning of this SCADA, we will be controlling all these stations remotely. And we already have the control center set up, and some 35 stations have already started communicating. And the work on the rest of the stations is on. Next. So these are some of the interventions where remote terminal units, intelligent electronic devices we are using, field remote terminal unit we are using, ringman units for sustainability and reliability. Then we have also planned sectionalizers. which can help in a great way, because given our terrain and the kind of weather we have here, we have huge breakdowns. Just an example that in our recent this snowfall, we have a total 11 kV feeders of around 1021. So in recent snowfall, we had around 500 feeders down in an overnight snowfall. So though we have a very robust system of restoration, we have swift response teams, but still that is time consuming because there is more of a human intervention. As on date, we do physical patrolling of the feeders. So when we have these technological interventions, though that time consumed by physical patrolling and when their fault, whole feeder goes down. So with introduction of these technological advances, where we can isolate only a part of the feeder, rest can be restored. So this is one of the examples where we can use and leverage technology. Next. Then we also have a real-time data acquisition system for some of the towns other than Srinagar, where we can generate these indices and also the operation and monitoring will be easier. This we are already doing for some towns. Next. Then the major theme of the today's this panel discussion is smart metering. So I am kind of I would say we are fortunate that we have already started installing our smart meters, and we have already installed around 12,000 meters. We are installing smart meters in 3 phases, and in phase 1 we will be installing around 57,000 smart meters by May or June this year, and then we have another phase 2 for another 3 lakh smart meters, and then rest of the consumers will be covered under RDSS. And so far we have also built around 1,200 consumers on smart meters. Next. Then major technological intervention, I would say, is in terms of consumer interface, while we engage consumers and we get we resolve their grievances as well as get feedback from the consumers. So this is something where we have done remarkably good, I would say, that we have a 24/7 cloud-based web as well as app-enabled customer grievance redressal system. And then these are the kind of how this mechanism works will be shown in the next slide. Next. Next, please. No, please, one slide back. Yeah, this is a diagrammatic representation of how this grievance redressal system works. We have these tall numbers which we can see, and these are IVR based, and we have our consumer service associate sitting over there. They receive the call and they note the grievance, and that grievance is submitted to our sub-divisional officers, and at the same time the consumer gets a ticket for that grievance, and that grievance is recorded and further submitted to the field. And once that sub-divisional officer resolves that grievance and is reported back to the system, and consumer is informed accordingly. This is a 24/7 our grievance redressal system working right now. And then next, please. Next, please. Next. Yeah. So we have a very good IT division over here. So one is we have a very good team which has developed some in-house web-based these modules, and one major outcome of that is bill Suhuliyat. So that is the online payment of bills. So in last year's index, this Kashmir Power Discom was third in terms of online transactions of bill payments. And then we have also developed some modules where we record the data of our feeders. And then another module we developed where we have kind of ID'd all our distribution, these transformers. All data is over there, and we track the history of distribution transformers. Say, for example, one particular transformer is damaged. That is ID'd already over there in the system. So that is marked as damaged and taken out of the system. And once that transformer is repaired and brought back to the system, again that is entered, and so that we have a history of that particular distribution transformer. And by that way we track it is kind of if it is repeatedly overloaded or how many times that transformer has been repaired. So that database is over there. Next. So this was brief about what Discom is so far doing, and as far as our future prospects, how we are planning to kind of provide reliable power supply. As I already told you that we are planning to cover all our consumers through smart metering in 3 phases, and for the system upgradation also we have prepared our action plan and DPR under revamped distribution sector scheme, and I'm hoping that with the installation of these smart meters, and even we have aerial bunch cables are being kind of laid down to reduce our power theft and pilferage. So that is also in various towns and Srinagar that is being taken up. So this is how we are planning to reduce our losses as well as to provide reliable power supply. Thank you.
Thank you so much for valuable insights, sir. I think this was really interactive. We work with the similar customers, and I definitely believe, sir, that the kind of IT intervention which you're doing and the kind of investments you're making in IT, the theme of this discussion, that is the analytics part, could be really leveraged here, because the more data you create, there's more chances of analyzing and getting the more out of the data. So I think there could be definitely some integration which could happen here, sir. I'm sure you all must be looking at it anyways. So thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, RK sir. I'll quickly, I want to understand, sir, for my understanding. We talk about AI/ML a lot, right? This is the buzzword in the market. And if I look at what the Ministry of Power is talking about, they're emphasizing heavily on leveraging AI/ML technologies to improve business operations of power utilities. Since you're a pioneer in this space and with your vast experience, I want to understand as to how these artificial intelligence and machine learning capabilities can be leveraged to solve critical problems around theft detection, energy forecasting, and loss reduction in the power distribution sector.
Yeah, sure, Abhinav. First of all, thanks, Dr. Kayum, for sharing his insights on the initiatives that are taken care by the young department that has been set up recently. It is definitely overwhelming to see the kind of initiatives that are being taken and the technologies that are put in place. So coming back to your question, globally, electricity is the most stolen commodity in the world after credit card. Very, very interesting to know that. And at SAS, we've been working more than 15 years providing solutions to detect and reduce electricity theft for power distribution companies. Solution what we provide has an integrated platform with embedded AI/ML technologies designed specifically for detecting energy theft. With over 40 years of experience and expertise what we have in this field, we understand the application of AI/ML models in the business operations, which enables the business to take decisions for specific objectives. In the context of energy theft, what we have seen is the criminals are very, very smart, and they continuously find new ways of tricking system and committing crime. The key to reducing theft and improving collections is continuous innovation, which requires leveraging analytics, more specifically AI/ML, streaming applications or streaming analytics, what we call, to stay ahead of criminals. So what do we do? SAS leverages hierarchical accounting, risk scoring, and network detection capabilities to identify theft cases. What we do in terms of pinpointing is energy deviations, basis which vigilance teams can plan the field inspections, establish a database of previous inspections and metadata to develop and train analytical models, which is very, very important from the historical data perspective. And then, of course, identify technical faults in the meters, which is very, very critical at this point. SAS has implemented similar projects globally as well as in India to help utilities solve these problems. One example I want to give slightly more detail. One of our key customers is CMIG, which is the largest power distribution company in Brazil and is responsible for more than 12% of national distribution. CMIG wanted to detect and mitigate losses related to electricity theft, billing errors, and meter failure. It was estimated that the non-technical loss, what we call as NTL, had a financial impact of a few hundreds of crores every year. By leveraging SAS, specifically the analytics what we provided to CMIG, we have successfully able to increase the detection rate substantially to almost to 50%, leading to the savings of approximately 40 crores a year for the customer. So I think the applications of AI, ML, and along with the streaming technology can bring immense benefits to leverage the data that is generated by the utilities, specifically the distribution companies. And we've got some specific examples in Indian context, given the constraints of difference in different applications, issues around data in the Indian context. So from the benefits perspective, ROI perspective, we have seen this multiple utility distribution companies reaping the benefits of using AI, ML, using the data what they have.
Thank you so much, Aki sir, for sharing these valuable insights. And I think it is exactly in line with what we are discussing. Most of the customers and the utilities in India currently are actually deploying smart meters. And by leveraging the technologies which you just mentioned, it is really helpful for us to bring down those losses, with the main objective of most of the schemes like RDSS. So thank you so much for sharing those insights, sir.
Thank you.
I'll move on to to Dr. Bashrat, sir. Sir, I want to understand from you one major question which usually crops up. You spoke specifically about multiple investments you are making in the IT space. I want to understand from technology standpoint, what technology interventions currently KPDCL is leveraging to optimize revenues and improving service delivery and significantly reducing power theft down the line. So any roadmap which you have envisaged as of now, sir?
Yeah, as I was listening to our esteemed other panelists, so I believe the role of AI and ML is of course there, but then if we see the system, as far as the system of Kashmir Power Discom is concerned, we have a lot of loopholes. So where we don't need to kind of draw the tables and see theft or the pilferage. So unless we it is openly seen, like I can tell in which area I have theft, because and in which area I have more losses, because as on date I know there are areas where we do not have a metered consumer. So in any case, that consumer is siphoning our energy but is billed on a flat rate. So unless we plug those loopholes, and then we are in a position to kind of pinpoint where the pilferage or the theft is happening. So accordingly, we have planned our this roadmap. So first, in first phase, we are kind of planning to plug the non-metered areas. So we'll be deploying our smart meters in phases, and then while deploying smart meters, we are also taking care that we should phase out our bare conductors, which is a source of pilferage. So in those areas, we are deploying aerial bunch cables, and we are also targeting areas where our energy consumption is very high. So that is one. And second, in terms of technology, we have not left it there. So as I said, we are mostly for billing and for these consumer interface, Oracle is being used, and we are upgrading that also. and this is kind of a continuum process. We are also trying to plug our loopholes where there are kind of open gates for pilferage through smart metering, through HVDS, through aerial bunch cabling, as well as we are also parallelly working on our technological front in terms of billing and in terms of consumer interface. As I said, that we have a 24/7 this consumer care center, where all social media complaints are also clubbed and they are also submitted to the concerned division or subdivision where these are addressed. So this is how we are working.
Absolutely, sir. Thank you so much for sharing these valuable insights, sir. And I'm sure you are investing heavily in the same space. I think there's a good chance of integration between what RK sir and you just specified. I think RK sir and his team specifically works in the digital transformation aspect of the overall technology sector. So I think this is a good interaction which we are having, wherein the ideas from both sides are being exchanged, and definitely a roadmap could be envisaged going forward, sir. Thank you so much for sharing your insights, sir.
Yeah, definitely. I would just add that, since we are already late, the DISCOM is only 28 months old. So now we kind of think that we should not be left behind in any arena, be it technology or infra upgradation. So of course, we would like to kind of parallelly work on technological advances also, so that we catch up with best of the DISCOMs in, say, DISCOMs in Delhi, Gujarat, or for that matter, Haryana. Yeah.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. I think Gujarat is the gold standard, sir, and I think you're aiming for the right set of discoms, and I'm sure, sir, definitely you'll be able to achieve that. I was hoping for that, sir.
Right.
Thank you so much, sir. RK, sir, I think Dr. Bashrat has shared some valuable insights. My second question will be in line with what Dr. Bashrat just specified. He clearly called out that, a lot of investment is happening in the utility sector, specifically in the IT upgradation phase, right? And what is happening is, since so much IT is coming up, there is a challenge of IT-OT integration which is coming up now. So there was a mention of SCADA, which is a OT platform. There's a specific mention of IT systems which are being deployed. And since they will have a lot of transactional data, it becomes really important to make sense of the data. I want to understand how at SAS, you people are actually helping customers achieve that. So specifically around the OT integration part, what role I want to understand is analytics playing in the IT and OT integration space, and how important do you think, because this is a huge amount of data, how important do you think data quality analysis and AI/ML will be for helping these utilities in the digital transformation process? So I want to understand your thoughts on that, sir.
Yeah. So while I just respond to your question, Abhinav, I think related, just to recollect some of the related points mentioned by Dr. Kayu. In spite of being a very young entity, they already started generating different types of data, either machine generated data or data which is emanating from citizens by citizen interactions through portal, which is very, very diverse. One could be structured, the other could be unstructured, something which is coming in batch, something which is coming in stream, and so on. I think just to extend this logic and what we have seen in the industry over last 2 decades, power utility have invested heavily, as you mentioned, in both IT and OT applications over last 2 decades. The issue is data is residing in these applications in a fragmented manner. In order to analyze this particular data properly and generate actionable insights, it is important that we tap onto this data in all of these IT or OT applications, which is part of the landscape or the IT ecosystem of a particular utility. I think one thing what we also need to understand is, due to fragmented procurement process, which this procurement must have happened over a period of time, different applications, the make and type of these applications vary for each of these utilities, and requires a lot of customization so that we can start using this particular data. And that's where I think advanced analytical solution can help resolve these issues through a smart data management solution, which I emphasize as the most important aspect of the first step as part of generating insights. So what it does, it will allow seamless extraction, integration, aggregation, imputation. Now this is very, very important whenever we're dealing with the missing data. And of course, we do is at SAS, we provide all these capabilities in a single interface with easy to use UI, thereby helping in customization process. Because as I mentioned earlier, the technologies, the applications, the timing of these procurement of these applications with respect to data is very, very high. And that's why this smart data management solution is very, very critical. Second aspect is after the data quality analytics and focus shifts towards, how do we use this data for customizing AI ML models with as much as or lesser code and more of GUI, and spend most of our time in solving business problems. So our approach and design of our technology, I'll just talk about what we followed with one of our customers in India, wherein we are deploying multiple machine learning models to forecast a day ahead demand for a power distribution company. So the objective is to forecast a day ahead demand for a power distribution company by in the data-driven approach for model building and customization. We have been able to achieve forecast accuracy of more than 98.2%, and also subsequently use these insights to save UI penalties of the customer. And this is very, very important from the utility perspective. This has enabled the customer also to model unknown events like COVID-19 lockdowns, because it is very, very important not only to generate the forecast accuracy for known situations, but also it is very important to deal with unknown situations or outlier events like COVID-19 lockdowns as an example, which again will save substantial UI charges. All in all, what I can conclude is that from the data management strategy, the usage of very smart data management solutions, ability to deal with diverse, the diverse data, both legacy as well as current, structured as well as unstructured. I believe that with similar approach of leveraging data applications as well as AI ML applications can be by distribution companies to improve their business operations, thereby taking effective decisions. I think all of this effort, what we try and put in to make data usable and build these models, is to take decisions which are more and more accurate.
Thank you so much, RK sir, for sharing these insights. I think you have made a beautiful example. Even the AI/ML would have been leveraged in a very better way if you would have been able to model the COVID-19, which you are able to do. So a lot of money, I'm sure, would have been saved for the customer. And I'm sure that results in a happy customer and a happy grid also going forward, since everything is integrated. Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable insights. It was really insightful.
So this was, ladies and gentlemen, this was a series of dialogue which Elets Technomedia has partnered with our industry partner, SAS India, one of the global MNCs in the field of automation. The objective of this dialogue was to bring forth, identify, and highlight some of the issues, some of the opportunities, some of the cutting-edge innovations which is there in the field of automation of the power discoms, gencoms, and transcoms, and how our power utilities as a whole can become more efficient organization who are able to forecast their loads, who are able to optimize their operations, who are able to minimize their operational losses, and who are also able to tweak and who are able to leverage the emerging technologies to reach out to their vast consumer base. Because as mentioned by Mr. Shivanantayal, MD of J&K Power Distribution Company, that reaching out to this vast database, which sometimes runs to lakhs of people, is not possible humanly. If we were to infuse efficiency into it, then there is no way but to automate the entire process. And if I talk of automation, then brings in for the role of AI and ML. With this, we come to a conclusion of this panel discussion, Power Utilities Conclave, brought to you by Elets Technomedia and SAS India. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Before I actually conclude this session, a small token of gratitude from Elets Technomedia to all the esteemed panelists here who had shared their insight the first certificate, a small token of gratitude by us for the Managing Director of Jammu Power Distribution Corporation Limited, Mr. Shivanand Tayal, a 2012 batch IAS officer. Thank you, Mr. Shivanand Tayal. I know you are not there, but you gave your rich insight on the topic. Our thanks and gratitude to Mr. Devashish Sarkar, also Managing Director in charge, currently officiating as Managing Director and Technical Director in Tripura State Electricity Corporation Limited. Very well mentioned about the role of technology in bringing the viability of the DISCOMs into focus. Thank you, Mr. Sarkar in absentia. Our thanks and gratitude to Mr. R.N. Vishnoy, also Superintending Engineer IT in Jodhpur Vidyut Vitaran Nigam Limited. बहुत धन्यवाद Mr. Vishnoy आपका. I know you are running short of time, but still you found time and shared your rich inputs. From the industry, our thanks and gratitude to Mr. Manshu Bansal, Senior Business Solutions Manager, who brought what are the latest offerings from SAS India, how SAS India can partner with India's utility sector, and how SAS India can enable India's utility sector to transform themselves into truly global multinational organizations. And our thanks to Mr. Sabyasachi Roy, also the Director, Finance and Administration, CFO, although he did try his level best, but because of some technical issues, something beyond your control, my control, he could not actually speak out. So we do look forward to hosting him in future dialogues with SAS India. With this, we conclude this session. Thank you, bye-bye, and best wishes.
Yeah, thanks everyone.
So that was indeed a very power-packed panel discussion today on the topic of the role of AI and ML in transforming the power utilities sector. 3 speakers were there. I had the privilege of anchoring this session for the audience here. We had 3 more speakers whom we would like to give the speaker certificates. May I announce my team at the back end to please present the certificate of appreciation to our speaker from the industry, Mr. Ankit Jain, Director, State Government Business, SAS India. Thank you, Mr. Ankit Jain, for taking out time, sharing the industry's perspective at this panel discussion. We also had with us again from SAS, Mr. B. Radhakrishna, CFSC Director, Fraud and Security Intelligence, SAS India. Mr. V. Radhakrishna, wonderful moderation. Thank you for putting your perspective on the industry's point of view at this panel discussion. And then finally, we had Mr. Avinav Sood, Industry Consultant for Energy and Utilities, again from SAS India. All 3 gentlemen from SAS India, thank you indeed for taking out your time, giving your valued perspective on how SAS India can partner with all the utilities, power utilities in the country in this transformational journey, how we can really go on the path from reducing the AT and C losses from cumulative 52% to the vision of Government of India of taking it around 10 to 12%. Well, with this, we conclude this panel discussion. Not only this panel discussion, this entire program, this knowledge forum, which was brought to you by Elets Technomedia in industry partnership with SAS India. A very brainstorming and very enlightening session for the past 2 hours. We have had the pleasure of listening to esteemed speakers from various states of the country, from the power and energy departments. We do look forward to hosting more such knowledge exchange conferences for the industry as well as for the different stakeholders. The objective is to identify, the objective is to brainstorm on the key issues and challenges and also come out with some innovative solutions to these challenges. With this, I wish you all the best. Thank you and bye-bye.